Former GOP congressman calls for Trump's removal after White House clash. The political fallout from an intense Oval Office clash is shaking the nation's capital, while according to a former intelligence official, Vladimir Putin may be watching with grin. The event unfolded when President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance confronted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on live television, echoing Russian disinformation. This has fueled concerns that the administration is weakened, observers suggest. The enemy is within, former Republican Congressman Denver Riggleman of Virginia told Raw Story. Fear is paralyzing many, but we must overcome it. Those who prioritize America over oligarchs' interests need to step up. This isn't Russia light. This is the United States. Following the clash, Trump's aides reportedly forced Ukrainian officials off White House grounds, raising further alarm that the president is being swayed by propaganda. Riggleman warned that with tech mogul Elon Musk in the White House, misinformation is becoming a key part of policy decisions. The spread of disinformation through social media and far-right outlets has made it impossible to separate truth from fiction in our government, he said. As a former Air Force officer and NSA contractor, Riggleman finds it alarming that Ukraine remains a U.S. ally on paper while Russia is officially a foe. Yet, after the White House clash, he believes Trump and Vance are serving Putin. They're actively working to please him, Riggleman said. It's surreal that the world's most powerful nation is bowing to a shirtless horseback rider. This is beyond unacceptable, and given Trump's instability, the 25th Amendment should be invoked to remove him. Riggleman, who left the Republican Party, believes this incident could fracture Trump's hold on some GOP members. Republican lawmakers are cowards who prioritize power over the country's future, he said. Trump has finally overreached, especially regarding Ukraine and Russia. This could be the moment when those who have enabled him start to break away. He fears America is aligning with the wrong side. This isn't just a shift in strategy, it means we've become the villains, he said. As a former Republican, I never imagined seeing a GOP administration seek Russia's approval. It's appalling and disgraceful. This dispute, he predicts, will repel many Trump supporters, particularly military veterans and service members. For those who have truly fought for this country, not those radicalized by conspiracy theories, this could trigger a major pushback, he said. With the Democratic Party struggling, Riggleman argues that this crisis stressed the urgent need for a strong third-party option. It feels like we have one party driven by madness and another paralyzed by fear, he told Raw Story. Given the impact of social media and data manipulation, I don't see how the two-party system survives. We need a new path forward. Malicious toddler. Conservative analyst criticizes Trump's confrontation with Zelensky. Conservative commentator Jonah Goldberg is frustrated with the way foreign policy and politics are constantly shaped to fit President Donald Trump's impulsive behavior. He expressed his dissatisfaction in a new piece for the Dispatch, analyzing Trump's heated exchange with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House on Friday. Goldberg wrote, I watched the entire 50-minute Q&A on C-SPAN, which I recommend, though it's painful to watch, trying to make sense of what happened. And when I say we, I mean the world. It was appalling and embarrassing for the U.S. people will take predictable sides, including me. I place the blame on Trump and J.D. Vance. By this, I mean the shame Trump has brought to the conversation about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Goldberg acknowledged that Zelensky might not have handled the situation perfectly, but emphasized that the real issue was elsewhere. He wrote, Zelensky shouldn't have been goaded, but Vance, a supposed advocate for diplomacy, shouldn't have provoked a man already fighting for his country's survival. If he wanted a resolution, his role should have been to calm Trump, not stir him up. Vance should have stepped in to end the press conference, as Mike Pence would have done. But Vance had his own agenda, serving it poorly at the expense of the country. Goldberg also took issue with fellow conservatives like Rich Lowry and Mark Thiessen, who were critical of Zelensky's approach. He argued that, regardless of Zelensky's mistakes, the administration mishandled the situation by allowing Trump to publicly draw a false moral equivalence between Russia and Ukraine, thus undermining Ukraine's position. If you want a deal, don't play out these disagreements publicly, Goldberg suggested, noting that Ukrainians are watching too. In response to Lowry's comment that Zelensky made an excellent point, Goldberg countered, Sure, but this is another case where others fail to acknowledge that Trump is a thin-skinned, malicious toddler with poor impulse control. It's always someone else's fault for not enabling him enough. And J.D. Vance knows that Trump can be easily provoked, which he did either out of cynicism or incompetence. Not who we are. Jim Acosta slams cabinet's sycophantic praise of Trump. During his time at CNN, Jim Acosta was known for challenging both Democrats and Republicans with tough questions. However, it was his pointed questioning of Trump administration officials that drew the ire of many pro-Trump conservatives. Since leaving CNN, the 53-year-old journalist has remained active, hosting Jim Acosta Show on YouTube and writing a Substack column. In his March 1st piece, Acosta sharply criticizes how Republican leaders responded to a heated February 28th meeting between former President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office. During the meeting, Trump lashed out at Zelensky, accusing him of recklessly escalating global tensions and failing to show gratitude for U.S. military aid. Acosta describes the episode as another example of Trump's erratic leadership, noting that his cabinet members quickly rushed to social media with coordinated praise. Just in case the president started checking his notifications, Acosta quips. For instance, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted on X, expressing pride in Trump and Vance for standing up for America and rejecting political games and disrespect. Similarly, Secretary of State Marco Rubio praised Trump for defending the country with unprecedented courage. Acosta, however, condemns these reactions, arguing that defending a president's shameful attack on an ally is deeply un-American. He compares Trump's remarks to his infamous 2018 meeting with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, calling it a diplomatic failure and a betrayal of U.S. values. According to Acosta, Trump's stance on Ukraine signals a broader shift in America's global role. Rather than standing as a defender of democracy, Trump appears willing to trade security assurances for access to valuable resources, such as Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Welcome to the grifter generation, Acosta writes. This is not who we are. Former Bush speechwriter and journalist David Frum has criticized former U.S. President Donald Trump for his handling of a recent meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. During the February 28th meeting at the White House, Trump reportedly berated Zelensky, sparking backlash not only from Democrats, but also from conservatives like Frum. In an article published by The Atlantic, Frum argues that Trump's behavior demonstrates a lack of regard for U.S. allies. He states, "False friendliness in public by Trump and Vance, followed by behind-the-scenes treachery, would have been much more dangerous to the Ukrainian cause. Instead, Trump and Vance have revealed to Americans and to America's allies their alignment with Russia and their animosity toward Ukraine in general and its president in particular. The truth is ugly, but it's necessary to face it." Frum also criticizes Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance for acting on personal grudges rather than strategic interests, writing, "Today's meeting gave the lie to any claim that this administration's policy is driven by any strategic effort to advance the interests of the United States, however misguided. Trump and Vance displayed in the Oval Office a highly personal hatred. There was no effort here to make a case for American interests." He further asserts that Trump and Vance have demonstrated that Western national security is being led by individuals who cannot be trusted to defend America's allies and who deeply sympathize with the world's most aggressive dictator. The dictator in question, according to Frum, is Russian President Vladimir Putin. Frum warns that the U.S. is engaging in self-destructive foreign policy, stating, "America first always meant America alone. A predatory America whose role in the world is no longer based on democratic belief. America voted at the United Nations earlier this week against Ukraine, siding with Russia and China against almost all of its fellow democracies." He concludes with a sobering question. Is this who Americans want to be? Or this is what America is being turned into?